The night is suffocatingly still, the kind of night where the darkness presses down, almost suffocating the air itself. Suddenly, the shrill wail of a 911 operator cuts through the silence. The faint sound of breathing, labored and panicked, is barely audible before the voice cracks through. One operator. 911, what's your emergency? John Sullivan. My wife. She's dead. I don't know what happened. John Sullivan stands in his living room, his hands trembling, eyes wide with shock. His shirt is soaked in crimson, blood, unmistakable and still fresh. The body of Marie Sullivan, his wife, lies in a pool of blood on the kitchen floor. The scene is chaos. Broken glass, a scattered chair, and the soft ticking of a clock that seems too loud against the tension. The operator's voice comes again, now strained with urgency. Operator, sir, where are you right now? John Sullivan. I don't know. I was just in the living room. I woke up and she was. His voice trails off as his eyes flick to the bloody mess at his feet. He doesn't seem to be fully processing what he's saying. The faint sound of sirens blares in the distance. Officers rush in. Detective Daniels, a seasoned officer in his 40s, steps forward, his face unreadable but sharp. He surveys the scene quickly, noting the blood on John's clothes, his frantic demeanor. Detective Daniels, to officer. Clear the area. Don't let him leave. As the officers process the scene, Daniels turns his gaze to John. His expression is one of calm detachment, but his eyes betray something else, something darker. There's a connection between Daniels and John, and it's not one the police have uncovered yet. Detective Daniels, to John. John, what happened here? John Sullivan. I don't remember. I didn't do it. I swear I didn't do it. Daniels watches John, his brow furrowing as he takes in the man's wide-eyed fear. John's frantic movements are interrupted by the buzzing of a phone. Daniels looks over to the counter where John's phone sits, its screen lit up. A message flashes across it. Marie, I'll be there soon. Don't tell him. A chill runs down Daniels' spine. Was Daniels more involved than anyone realized? Detective. Daniels sits alone in his office, his hands clasped together as he stares at the files in front of him. The images of Marie Sullivan's murder flash across his mind, but his thoughts are consumed by a different image. Her face, her eyes, her smile. For months, they had shared a secret that had become more than just an affair. It had become an obsession. He had thought about her constantly, his feelings shifting from desire to possessiveness until he was unable to separate the two. As Daniel sifts through the paperwork, a knock at the door interrupts his thoughts. Officer Davis enters, handing him a new file. Detective, we got some more information from the witness interviews. Marie's past. It's messier than we thought. Daniels takes the file, flipping it open. Inside are photographs, a timeline, and testimonies. The most shocking one, an anonymous tip detailing Daniels' relationship with Marie. The affair had been ongoing for months, hidden beneath the guise of professional interactions. John Sullivan, her husband, had no idea, but Daniels had been more than just a cop. He had been emotionally invested, controlling even. Officer Davis. You sure you want to keep going with this, sir? It's starting to look like you're too close to this case. Daniels doesn't respond right away, his face betraying nothing. His mind races, though. Every moment with Marie, every conversation, every lie to his colleagues. His obsession had clouded his judgment, and now it was threatening to ruin everything. The phone rings. Daniels picks it up, his fingers tightening, on the receiver as he listens. Detective Daniels. What did you find? Anonymous voice. You think this is about her affair? It's worse. Daniels, there's something darker in your past, something you've kept buried, and I'm the one who's going to bring it to light. Daniel's grip on the phone tightens, a cold sweat breaking out on his brow. The voice fades as the line goes dead, leaving him in silence, his heart pounding in his chest. What had he done before this? The investigation shifts into high gear as witness testimonies begin to paint a darker picture of Marie's life. People who had once seen her as a vibrant, loving wife now reveal a different side. One that spoke of fear, tension, and a crumbling marriage. Lena, a close friend of Marie's, sits across from the detectives, her face pale as she recounts the few times she had witnessed Marie and John's arguments. Lena: John was not the man he used to be. He'd get angry over the smallest things. I saw him break a plate once just because she didn't cook his favorite meal. The detectives exchange glances. The evidence begins to pile up. John Sullivan's volatility, his increasingly erratic behavior, and the strained marriage. Still, none of it seems to explain murder. Was he capable of taking his wife's life in a moment of rage, or was there something more at play? As Daniels listens in, his mind races back to the last time he saw Marie. His feelings for her had always been intense, but as her husband's dark side surfaced, Marie had started to pull away from everyone, especially him. Daniels had become an anchor for her in her volatile marriage, a shadow in her life. Had she been trying to escape both men, or had she simply been caught in a web of manipulation? Detective Daniels is jolted back to the present when Officer Reynolds enters, holding a small plastic evidence bag. Officer Reynolds: Detective, we found something in Marie's bedroom. Thought you'd want to see this. Daniels watches as the officer hands him a set of audio tapes. The label on one reads, Marie, Private Recordings. As the tape begins to play, Marie's voice fills the room, her tone uneasy, almost frightened. Marie's voice: I don't know who it is, but they've been following me. There's something I'm not telling John, a threat I can't ignore. I'm scared, and I don't know what to do anymore. The tape clicks off, leaving the room thick with unease. Daniel's breath catches. The revelation hits him like a punch. Who was the person threatening Marie? And what was she hiding from her husband? The investigation takes a sharp turn when surveillance footage from a local gas station contradicts John's alibi. According to his statement, he had been at a late meeting with business associates the night Marie was murdered. But the footage reveals something different. John was seen driving alone, miles away from where he claimed to be. His car's license plate clearly visible. It shows him pulling into a secluded parking lot, staying there for almost 2 hours, and leaving just before the body was discovered. The police sit John down once again, the tension palpable in the interrogation room. He begins to sweat, his earlier story faltering. Detective Daniels, sternly: John, we have footage of your car. You were nowhere near your meeting. Where were you? John stares at the table, his lips trembling. He opens his mouth to speak, but no words come out. The cracks in his alibi widen, and the detectives feel the weight of the unraveling case. Could John have lied to cover something darker? Meanwhile, Daniel's behavior becomes increasingly erratic. He is visibly uncomfortable with the direction the investigation is taking. His usual calm demeanor has been replaced with defensiveness, even hostility. Officer Reynolds, quietly to Daniels: You okay, sir? Daniels doesn't respond immediately, but his eyes narrow as he watches John, feeling the heat of the interrogation room. There's something unsettling about John's growing anxiety, but Daniels can't shake the feeling that he's being drawn into something bigger than the case at hand. As the investigation presses on, Detective Harris enters the scene with a new lead: a phone record traced to the crime scene. They trace the 911 call made from Marie's phone, and to everyone's shock, the call was made from none other than Detective Daniels' phone. The revelation hits hard. Why was Daniels' phone at the crime scene? What part did he play in Marie's murder? The investigation shifts as witness testimonies begin to offer conflicting accounts of what happened at Marie's house the night of her murder. Several neighbors recall hearing raised voices coming from the direction of the Sullivan home, but no one can definitively place who was arguing. One neighbor, Terry, claims to have seen a car parked outside, but the vehicle's make and model differ between witnesses. Some recall seeing a dark sedan, others a pickup truck. The confusion grows as the investigation stalls, but one thing is clear. Marie's last moments are shrouded in mystery. John's increasing paranoia surfaces when he is confronted with the possibility that his wife was having an affair. He had known something was off for months, but the idea that she might have been seeing Detective Daniels gnaws at him. The affair isn't just a rumor now, it's an undeniable part of the story. John's grief begins to twist into anger as he grows convinced that Daniels had something to do with Marie's death. He demands answers, but Daniels, who has already denied any involvement, begins to slip further into defensive silence. He insists that he had nothing to do with the crime, just as he had insisted with the affair. The walls close in on Daniels, especially as more revelations emerge. Officer Harris discovers that Daniels had been at the scene the night of the murder. At least that's what the surveillance footage suggested. But Daniels maintains his alibi, his denials growing more desperate with each new piece of evidence. Then, a breakthrough. A hidden camera recording, one that had been left on in Marie's living room, reveals shocking footage. As the tape plays, Daniels can be seen entering the house, walking toward the back door just minutes before the time of death. His movements are deliberate, his expression unreadable. The footage cuts abruptly as the door swings shut behind him. Detective Daniels, nervously. That's not what it looks like. The room falls silent, the weight of the discovery hanging heavy in the air. What was Daniels doing at Marie's house just before she was murdered? And what else is he hiding? The investigation takes a darker turn as the police begin to dig into Detective Daniels' past. Officer Harris uncovers a disturbing pattern. Daniels has been involved in several questionable incidents throughout his career, all of which had been conveniently swept under the rug. Misplaced evidence, ignored complaints, and colleagues who had always suspected something was off about him. It all points to a history of corruption and moral compromise. But it's not just the corruption that raises alarms. Daniels' emotional instability begins to surface as the investigation deepens. His previous relationships are scrutinized, and several people close to him speak of erratic behavior, obsessive tendencies, and a growing temper that he struggled to control. Meanwhile, Marie's phone records provide a damning timeline of her final days. Several calls between her and Daniels are discovered, some lasting several minutes, others just seconds. The frequency of the calls increases as the days pass, showing an obsessive pattern of communication. Daniels' behavior toward Marie had been more than just a casual affair. It was controlling, suffocating. She had been trying to distance herself, but Daniels had been relentless. The police begin to piece together a clearer picture of the relationship between Daniels and Marie, but it doesn't explain everything. If Daniels was involved in the murder, why did he continue to speak to Marie in the days leading up to it? Why would someone as emotionally invested in the affair kill her, only to keep in contact afterward? The tension reaches a breaking point when Daniels is finally arrested. His face remains emotionless as the cuffs click shut around his wrists. But as the detectives lead him away, Daniels opens his mouth, his voice cutting through the quiet. "Detective Daniels, you've got it all wrong. I didn't do this. I was framed. Someone else is pulling the strings." The room grows cold. For the first time, Daniels looks afraid. Who is behind all of this? And why is Daniels so desperate to point the finger elsewhere? As the investigation delves deeper, more unsettling truths about John Sullivan emerge. The police uncover evidence suggesting that he had been aware of the affair between his wife and Detective Daniels long before Marie's death. Surveillance footage from the couple's home security cameras reveals John monitoring Marie's movements, tracking her every step with disturbing precision. The footage shows Marie leaving the house on several occasions and John, in the dead of night, pulling up in his car to follow her. Detectives also find journals hidden in John's study. Pages filled with obsessive notes about Marie's actions, including cryptic entries about Daniels. John had been watching, tracking, and documenting his wife's every interaction with the detective. As the pieces fit together, it becomes clear that John had been consumed by jealousy and rage. But the question remains, could he have orchestrated the murder to frame Daniels and eliminate his rival? Detective Daniels, still holding on to his innocence, continues to insist that he was framed, that someone else was behind the murder. As the investigation continues, the focus shifts to whether John's suspicions about his wife's affair pushed him into orchestrating Marie's death. The idea of him staging the scene to point directly at Daniels becomes more plausible as the detectives uncover more about his involvement in the investigation. However, just as the case seems to be pointing in one direction, the investigation takes another unexpected turn. Officer Reynolds enters with a fresh lead: a mysterious figure seen leaving Marie's house the night of the murder. The figure is captured on neighboring surveillance footage, but it's neither John nor Daniels. The figure is wearing a hood, their face obscured by the shadows. Detective Daniels, with a frown: "Who the hell is that?" The mystery deepens, and the search for the identity of this unknown figure becomes the focal point of the investigation. Was John truly the mastermind behind the murder? Or is there someone else hiding in the shadows? The investigation takes an unexpected turn when a neighbor who had kept to the shadows during the initial questioning finally steps forward with a startling confession. Helen, a quiet woman who lived 2 doors down from the Sullivan house, had been hesitant to speak up. She had been unsure about what she saw, but now, with the pressure mounting, she finally comes clean. "Helen, I didn't want to get involved, but I saw something that night. A man was leaving Marie's house, someone I didn't recognize. He wasn't John, and it wasn't Daniels either." Her voice trembles as she recounts the night. She explains how she had noticed the man around 2 a.m., sneaking out of the back of Marie's house, looking over his shoulder as if he didn't want to be seen. His features were hidden in the shadows, but she distinctly remembers the tattoos on his arms, something she couldn't ignore. As the police dig deeper, they uncover the identity of the mystery man. He is Lucas Trent, an ex-colleague of Detective Daniels, who had been recently released from prison after serving time for armed robbery. The connection between Trent and Daniels raises eyebrows. Why would Daniels, a respected officer, have a relationship with a convicted felon? Detective Daniels, to Officer Harris, tense: "I don't know him. I haven't seen him in years." But Daniels' insistence doesn't carry the same weight anymore. The pieces don't fit. They trace Lucas Trent's whereabouts back to the day before Marie's murder, and they discover he had been in contact with Daniels in the days leading up to the crime. The shock comes when Trent is brought in for questioning. In a gruff, defeated voice, he confesses, "Lucas Trent, Daniels hired me to handle Marie. She was too much of a problem. But things went wrong, man. I didn't mean to kill her. It wasn't supposed to go down like that." The confession sends shockwaves through the investigation. Daniels had hired Trent to intimidate Marie, but the situation escalated, and Marie was killed in the process. The pieces fall into place, but the story doesn't end there. What exactly went wrong that night? And why did Daniels send a dangerous man to handle his problem? You said, the truth begins to piece together as Lucas Trent's confession is corroborated by phone records and other evidence. Police uncover multiple calls between Daniels and Trent in the days leading up to Marie's murder. Calls that detail a conversation about silencing Marie once and for all. The investigation reveals that Daniels had orchestrated the entire event, using Trent as a pawn to handle what he couldn't control. Daniels' role as the mastermind becomes undeniable, and the pieces of his dark past begin to come into sharper focus. As the investigation deepens, Daniels' history of corruption starts to unravel. Years of small misdeeds, bribery, intimidation, and abuse of power are brought to light. Colleagues from his past speak of his aggressive tendencies and his willingness to bend the law for personal gain. He had been a cop willing to cross any line, a man who used his badge as a shield for his personal vendettas. The affair with Marie, it seems, was just one of many manipulations in a long history of moral compromise. But as Daniels is led to trial, something unexpected happens. His once calm exterior cracks. Daniels refuses to give up his accomplice. Despite the mounting evidence, he insists that there was another force at play, that Trent wasn't the only person involved. He implies there's a larger conspiracy behind Marie's murder, one that extends far beyond his own actions. Daniels, you think I'm the only one? You're looking in the wrong place. There's someone else behind all of this. His words linger in the air as the courtroom goes silent. The detectives exchange uneasy glances. Daniels is still holding back. What is Daniels hiding? Who else is involved in this twisted web of corruption and murder? As the trial approaches, Daniels, weary from the mounting pressure, finally breaks. In a tense moment of vulnerability, he admits to his involvement in the affair with Marie. His voice cracks as he explains that he had been emotionally entangled with her for months, but he denies any involvement in her murder. Daniels, yes, I was with her. Yes, I loved her. But I didn't kill her. I swear to God. The courtroom listens intently as Daniels shifts his focus. His gaze turns toward Officer Harris, his former partner, sitting in the back of the room. Daniels' next words send shockwaves through the room. Daniels. It was Harris. He was the one who couldn't let go. He was obsessed with her. She was never really mine to have. But he couldn't stand the thought of her with me. He killed her. The room falls into stunned silence. The revelation is so unexpected that even the defense attorney stumbles over his notes. Harris, who had sat motionless until now, shifts uncomfortably, his face paling as he realizes the accusation. Daniels' confession casts a dark shadow over Harris, a man who had always been seen as Daniels' loyal partner. The police begin to dig deeper into Harris's past, and what they find shocks them. They uncover a long history of obsession. Harris had been secretly in love with Marie for years. His emotions had festered in the shadows, hidden beneath the veneer of professionalism. But that wasn't all. The investigation reveals Harris's dark ties to Marie's family. He had been close to her father, a man with a checkered past, and had been involved in covering up several of the family's darker secrets. Marie had threatened to expose everything, and Harris's obsession with her had made him do the unthinkable. As Harris is taken into custody, the case takes yet another twist. What other secrets did Harris hide? And how deep did his connection to Marie's family truly go? The investigation unravels further as police delve deeper into Officer Harris's twisted obsession with Marie. Evidence emerges that paints a chilling picture of his psychological unraveling. Harris had been secretly obsessed with Marie for years, watching her from the shadows, unable to let go of his feelings for her. His professional facade as Daniels' loyal partner had been a mask to hide his true emotions, emotions that grew darker over time. But Harris's obsession wasn't just limited to Marie. The investigation reveals his dangerous connection to both John Sullivan and Daniels. Harris had been friends with John long before Marie's murder, but he had used that relationship to manipulate both men. He had become a trusted ally, weaving himself into their lives and using his position to control the flow of information. The more Harris tried to control, the more dangerous he became. Tension builds to a breaking point as Daniels, Harris, and John are forced to face each other in a final confrontation. The room is thick with unspoken anger as Daniels accuses Harris of everything, while John stands, shaking with rage, his face twisted with betrayal. Harris, his hands shaking, tries to defend himself, but his words falter as the weight of his crimes settles on him. It becomes clear that all of them were complicit in a web of lies and manipulation, but no one is quite sure who the real murderer is. Then, just as the truth seems close, a final shocking twist comes to light. The true killer wasn't Harris or Daniels, but someone far closer to Marie than anyone had anticipated. The murderer is revealed in a shocking twist: Marie's sister, Claire, who had been hiding in plain sight the entire time. Claire had been living in the shadows, secretly, envious of her sister's life, her beauty, and her relationship with both John and Daniels. She had watched as Marie's affair with Daniels spiraled out of control, and her jealousy consumed her. How could Claire have kept such a dark secret? And what pushed her to murder her own sister? The truth shatters the courtroom as Marie's killer is finally revealed. The murder wasn't the result of a love triangle between Marie, John, and Daniels. It wasn't a crime of passion born from jealousy or betrayal. The true killer was Marie's own sister, Claire. No one had suspected her. Claire had been living in the shadows, silently observing her sister's life, and harboring a deep, unspoken resentment. For years, Claire had been in love with John Sullivan, her brother-in-law, and when Marie's affair with Daniels began to escalate, it pushed Claire to the edge. She couldn't stand to see her sister, the woman she secretly envied, take the one thing that Claire had always wanted: John's love. The affair between Marie and Daniels was the last straw, and in a fit of rage and jealousy, Claire murdered her sister, staging the crime to look like it had been orchestrated by Daniels or Harris. The emotional devastation and betrayal reach you, a fever pitch as everyone involved is forced to confront the truth. John, the man who had once loved Marie, is left broken by the realization that the woman he had once considered his sister-in-law had killed the woman he loved. Daniels, too, is crushed, not only by the revelation of Claire's actions, but by his own role in the twisted web of lies that led to Marie's death. The entire investigation feels like a betrayal, one that cuts deeper than anyone could have imagined. As Claire is taken into custody, her face betrays no emotion, but there's a chilling look in her eyes, a look that suggests she's far more dangerous than anyone realized. Claire, quietly: "You think I'm the only one with a dark secret? You're wrong." The final scene lingers on Claire's haunting words, a chilling silence hanging in the air as she is led away in handcuffs. What other secrets does Claire know? And what darkness is still lurking, waiting to be uncovered?